Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode on Embracing Wisdom with Stacie. That's me. I'm a yoga teacher, and I like to call myself the giver of goodness because the type of yoga that I teach is very non-posture based. Of course, I will guide people through a little bit of movement, but I am all about taking the principles of yoga and turning them into our daily life. How do we show up in the world in our thoughts, our words, and our actions that align with becoming our best self? That's what I'm all about, right? Every day I want to be a better version of who I am than I was yesterday. Sometimes I fail, as we all do. And all we can do with those little bumps in the road and the little speed bumps that show up in life and the little failures is learn from them. I want to talk today about what does it mean to truly set an intention and then modify your behaviors, your thoughts, your words, your actions to align with that intention. You hear a lot of people saying that they have an intention for their practice, intention for their day, but what about an intention for your life? For your year? We'll break it down to year. So for the last 25 years, maybe 26, I would have to go back and count. For the last 25 years, we'll say, I have chosen a single word that I typically do towards the end of a year that I then choose for the following year. This word has changed 25 times. I've not repeated the same word or intention. And it has been an amazing experience in my world of keeping me accountable, keeping me focused, keeping me aligned with the direction I want to create in my life, what I want to make of my life, and how I want to take all the experiences that come with being human and link it back to that intention or that word. So I like to think of the word as a thread that gets woven into the tapestry of my entire life, a thread that gets woven in. So I always go back to several years ago, I chose the word bold. I wanted to be vibrant in how I showed up in the world. I wanted to make big decisions. I wanted to be loud in how I showed up. I wanted to be bold. I wanted to take risks. I wanted to do things that were hard without hesitating. I wanted to be bold. I wanted to be so bold. That year, I actually purchased a bright yellow Jeep because I wanted to be bold. I wanted to show up and stand out in the world. And I've chosen other words that are a little bit different, a little bit softer. Reverence was a word. I wanted to have deep reverence for daily living. I wanted to flourish one year. I wanted to bloom into something great. I've chosen the word peaceful. I've chosen grateful. I've chosen vulnerability was last year, maybe should have been this year, but I've chosen words. And then when I'm faced with a decision or I'm faced with a circumstance, I try my hardest to link it back to that word. So for example, when I chose the word vulnerability for 2023, I wanted to expose myself more emotionally. I have a very private life. I don't let a lot of people into my inner world. I'm very public in my work and what I do, but as far as my inner relationships, my family life, my personal struggles, I didn't want to expose much of that. And choosing the word vulnerable last year really helped me to stretch myself a little bit and to take some of those emotional risks. I also wanted to live with uncertainty and be okay. The tendency, not that I'm a control freak, but I like to know what I'm going in to, what kind of situation I'm going into, and how I'm going to best use my strengths to succeed in that situation. Well, being vulnerable means we kind of deal with uncertainty in a very open way. Like we show up and we don't have certainty, and that's okay. So this year, I chose the word equanimity, which you hear a lot when you are a yoga practitioner. You might be guided for equanimity is to find the balance between effort and ease in a posture. Well, I took it a step further and I wanted to have effort and ease within my daily life. So, can I remain steady, unchanged, balanced, no matter what shows up in my life? A lot has shown up in my life this year, and I believe that with intention of being a person that practices equanimity, that is equanimity, I've handled these challenges remarkably well. And I've done that because that is the thread that is woven into my tapestry. I want to be able to look back at my life and see those threads and remember that year I was bold, that thread is golden. And I remember that year and I remember the risks that I took. I remember being bold and loud, and it was good. I want to remember the years that I was flourishing, that I was opening up that tiny little bud and blooming. I want to remember that. And so, what I would tell somebody who wants to live a more deliberate life, a more mindful life, is to choose an intention, a word, a single word. Maybe it's for a month, maybe it's for a week, maybe it's for a day. We're halfway through the year, it's not too late. Choose something that you would like to challenge yourself to be better at, to embark on maybe a new way of being, to embody something different. Maybe you have a tendency to be a hopeless person or a person who is cautious, and maybe people have told you you're a little bit on the negative side. What if you chose the word positivity and you worked really hard at finding opportunities in the challenges rather than disasters? What if you could see the things in your life in a positive lens? We do that by thinking differently, speaking differently, and acting differently. So it's easy to say my intention is to be more peaceful. But then when life shows up, because it does, and we go to back to the same autopilot reactions, it's really useless to set an intention. It's powerful to set an intention when we stop and pause and we tune into ourselves and we say, okay, right now, this is a challenge, or this is a celebration, or this is whatever. And I made that commitment to myself that I was going to have equanimity. I was going to practice equanimity. I was going to be steady and unwavering no matter what shows up. So for me, equanimity, we have this range of emotions: disaster, joyful bliss, everything is good. I wanted to come into the middle where it's not necessarily neutral or gray, but I wanted to remain unwavering. And I do that when I'm faced with a challenge this year. I stop for a second and I ask myself, am I going to allow this challenge to allow my thoughts to run off like a train that's gone wild, to speak about myself or my situation or the challenge in a way that doesn't serve my greatest good? And am I going to act recklessly that is the counter of equanimity? So I'm faced with a challenge of hip recovery. Hip surgery went awry, had another one, got infected, got blood clots, got reactions to medications. That's huge challenges. Have my thoughts remained steady? Do I catch myself going into the future of unknown and uncertainty of what if, what if, what if? Nope. I catch myself stepping on the train and I jump off. Okay. When I have thoughts about myself that say, man, I am a mess. No, I'm not a mess. That is out of alignment with being steady and unwavering. I am not a mess. I am healing. And when other people in my world try to project that I am a mess, or I'm a weirdo, or your body is just so weird and you must be doing something wrong, you must be overdoing it, that stops, because that does not serve my greatest good. And then my actions, how do I have a practice of equanimity? Do I still maintain my morning routine, even despite the challenge? Have I given up on self-care? Not at all. It's just changed a little bit. So I would love for you to pick a word and practice maybe for a week until the next podcast comes available. What do you want to create in your life for this week? How would you like to polish yourself, your spirit, your character? What would you like to be different at? And then as you move about the week and you're faced with the dilemmas of being human, how are you responding in thoughts, words, and actions to that dilemma? Are you reverting back to catastrophizing, worrying, being anxious, minimizing? A lot of us are minimizers. Or are you living in alignment with what you chose as your intention for the week? And then you might find this is so challenging and so good and so invigorating that you choose a word for June, for the month of June, an intention for June. Maybe your intention for June is to grow. And so you look for opportunities in your thoughts, your words, and your actions to grow. You learn a new skill, you stretch yourself. Maybe you join a club, maybe you pick up a book that you haven't finished. You grow. Okay. And then you're so inspired by choosing a word for a month that you say, okay, for the last half of 2024, my intention is this. And here's where it becomes powerful. Publicly announcing what you're working on makes you accountable. Simply writing it in your journal or putting it on a post-it note that only you see in the morning bathroom doesn't work. Publicly sharing with your friends, your family, strangers, I'm working on this year. This is my intention, gives power. Okay, so you've lit the match by choosing a word. Now, the tinder that goes on to your fire, your flame, are all of those choices that you make to share your word. It's readjusting your thoughts, words, and actions. That's going to keep the fire going. You have to continually put logs on the fire for it to last a whole year. Okay, so light the match, choose your word, your intention for a week, for the month of June, and then for the rest of the year. And then reevaluate halfway through the week, halfway through the month, halfway through the last quarter of this year. How have you brought that word into the tapestry of who you are? How have you embodied that intention? When we make that conscious choice and we are deliberate was one of my words 2 years ago, magic starts to happen. We are then in control. We are not allowing external circumstances, people, experiences, troubles to dictate how our life unfolds. We are in control. Light the match, set your intention, publicly announce it. That's putting fuel into your fire, right? And then what happens is you start to become aware of it. Other people encourage you. They don't shame you. They don't get to shame you. They don't get to say, I thought you were working on being more positive. Those people don't belong in your tribe. People commend you on your positive outlook. And you start to feel good about it. And you start to see that changing, maybe adjusting just slightly how you respond and react to certain things in your life is actually enhancing your life. I don't know. It's worked for me for 25 years. Give it a try. I want to know what word you have chosen for your week, for the month of June, and for the rest of 2024. And I want to hear about it. I'll see you soon.